following investigation contains graphic details. Viewer discretion is advised.
After more than 3 decades, the Gilgo Beach serial killer case is finally closed. On June 17, 2026, Rex Heuermann was sentenced for the murders of 8 women, bringing an end to one of the most notorious unsolved cases in American history. Rex Heuermann, 62, former Manhattan architect from Massapequa Park, had pleaded guilty back in April to murdering 7 women and admitted to killing an 8. He confessed that he strangled them and dismembered some of their bodies over a span of 17 years between 1993 and 2010. Hi, my name is Ada, and this is Amo True Crime Stories. The cases discussed on this channel are based on publicly available information, including news reports, court records, police documents, and other verified sources available at the time this video was created. This content is presented for documentary, educational, and commentary purposes only. Any opinions expressed are personal interpretations and should not be considered definitive statements of a fact. All individuals mentioned are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court of law. Some material discussed may be disturbing to certain viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. With that being said, let's get into this case.
This was the day that the victims had their chance to talk about their loved ones, their mothers, their daughters, their sisters. And it was very sad. These are young women. These were young women who were murdered for absolutely no reason other than a man decided they were small enough and vulnerable enough to lure them to his house under the pretense that he was going to pay them for sex work and that he could just use them and torture them. This was a sadist who brought these young women to his house and disposed of them like trash after using them for his own psychopathic needs. That is what went on here. And today we heard about how these women, they were beautiful, they were loved, they were human beings, they had wonderful qualities. And a lot of what we heard about these young women was the fact that, or what we heard from the family members was that they feel like their loved ones have been mistreated in the news media, treated just as women who were prostituting themselves, and it was incredibly sad.
The way the press has treated the victims and their families over the years is painful, bringing out the worst of the worst. This will never be over. Maybe now strangers will stop trying to figure out our family. You won't get it. And quite frankly, I don't give a damn. Heuermann, you fill me with so much repugnance, it's suffocating. But I can't let you overtake me, and I will stand strong for my cousin and the many other victims, including the ones you're holding on to, like a carrot over the FBI because of this behavioral health study. You went from freak to clown. Better work, creep. I hope you and I believe that science and detectives will beat you to the punch. Remember when they surrounded you out of nowhere to arrest you? I love that footage. I could watch it over and over. I almost feel sorry for not publicly speaking before this, and the voices that still can't. But if ever there was a time for me to talk about Jessica Taylor, my cousin, my brave, fun, hilarious, spunky, smart, beautiful friend, there are songs that I listen to and I can still hear. He did not just say shave your face with some mace and laugh. And the 80s and 90s would not have been the same without each other. And the future won't be the same without her. 1,000,000 years isn't enough because you won't suffer for that long. You will spend the rest of your forever in prison, and it doesn't feel satisfying. Nothing will ever make this right. This kind of grief stays. Knowing you can never do it again does give me some comfort. Jess is always with us.
Do you want to end up like Jessica? That is a question I heard many times as a teenager. Something spoken out of the fear of knowing what a monster is truly capable of. The answer was yes, I did want to end up like Jess. She was fierce, kind, compassionate, beautiful, and intelligent. She loved every person she met better than she found them, even if they only met for a moment. She never met a stranger. She was pure sunshine. I wish all of the time that I could know her as the woman that I am today, that I could see the woman she would have become, that I would have hugged her tighter the last time that I saw her, that she could know my son, the trips us and my sister could have had, the memories we could have continued to make. Instead, I try to remember her through the memories that I'm lucky to hold on to. I pray to her and I leave flowers in memory of her in the places that she was left behind. I fought for her when she couldn't fight. I promised her until the wheels fell off, and I never gave up, even when it felt like I was screaming underwater. If I could say something to her murderer, I would say this. You thought you took her voice, but you didn't know that she had people who loved her. You hunted her, and I hunted you. I would say to her murderer, for someone who spent so much time perfecting his skill, you certainly were sloppy. You made a whole planning document to kill my cousin, and you couldn't even do that right. Let's go through your lists. Problems, DNA, left it. Messed up there, huh? Supplies, hairnet, well, so much for that. Body prep, removed DNA. Once again, you wrote it down twice, and you still couldn't get it. And remove ID marks. Well, we know you couldn't do that because she was identified by the tattoo that you couldn't cut out properly. I can wrap around my head around why you would kill, because who would want to be around you? What I can't wrap my head around is why would the FBI even want to waste their time with you? You're boring, you're not prolific, you couldn't even be top 5, you're a nobody. You didn't evade the police, just wasn't worked properly. If the police work and the technology was the same as 2023, you would have been locked up then. You were right there the whole time, losing control while the clock ticked. I know why you did what you did to my cousin after you killed her. It's because she saw you as the huge freak that you are. I know she let you know up until the end. I know she did not go out without a fight. You chose small women because you were nothing more than a weak, disgusting coward. It makes sense how you didn't see them as human. It's kind of the same way nobody saw you as a human in high school. You tried to fit in your whole life, and you never could. Your whole life was fake, all for you to perfect a craft that you couldn't perfect. You could never get it right. You could never have full control. You want to know what it is to play God? Well, you will have to face him. Today is Jessica's birthday. She'd be turning 43 today, and I would be able to make fun of her for being an old lady with my sister. When I started my fight for her, there was a piece of me who thought I could bring her back if I got answers. Well, unfortunately, that will never be true. I know one day I will get to hug her in heaven. I'm so grateful for this day of justice, and I know she is too. I hope she's singing with the angels today, and we will forever celebrate her and all of the victims with love. Happy birthday, Jess.
One thing I do want to tell you about, though, Ted, is the fact that Rex Heuermann was cold as ice. You know, we didn't see the smirk that we saw from him during that plea hearing when he was asked if he was pleading guilty and, you know, talking about him cooperating with the FBI's behavioral analysis unit, and we would see that kind of smile and that smirk. That was not there today. He looked straight ahead the entire time. At times, his hands were kind of folded, and it kind of almost I got this vibe that, you know, is he just thinking about, like, okay, how long do I have to sit here until I get to go back and have lunch? You know, that's kind of what it looked like to me. Just like, how long do I have to sit here and listen to this? He didn't look at the victims. The only time he ever looked at an actual victim was when Amanda Barthélemy, the sister of Melissa Barthélemy, who was a teenage girl when her sister was murdered, said, "Look at me when I talk to you." That's what she said to him. And he kind of looked over because Rex Heuermann took Melissa Barthelomew's phone after he murdered her, called Amanda from Midtown Manhattan and taunted her and told her her sister was gone and said things to her that were just absolutely heinous, said awful things to her. And she said, will I ever see my sister again? And he said, some things in response to that. And she said, look at me when I talk to you because, we haven't talked in a long time.
You can look at me while I'm talking. It's been about 17 years since we spoke, don't forget. You tarnished the relationship between my mother and I for a while. She was afraid for me because of you. She was afraid when I left the house that I wouldn't return. And it was also hard for her to be there for me the way I needed her to be. When she herself was fighting for my sister's life, for someone to take us seriously, fighting for her own life and for her sanity. Thankfully, we were able to reconcile that relationship, something you'll probably never have with your daughter, and I hope that's something that haunts you for the rest of what I hope is a very short-lived life. I was forced to live with crippling anxiety, depression, PTSD, and a destroyed nervous system. I was filled with rage and sadness every single day. For a while, depression had got the best of me, and so I barely ate, and I cried and slept on repeat. I was afraid of people that looked at me for too long. I was mortified anytime I heard a noise if I was home alone. I had to check the back of my car every time I got in. I was worried about meeting new people or being in large crowds. My heart even seemed to beat if I got a call from a blocked number. Constantly staring at my phone waiting for the next call from you. Because of the several times you had called me from my sister's phone, telling me she or how I'd ask you where she was, and you'd tell me that you were letting her body rot and that maybe one day you'd come tell me where she was. I had to repeat all of this to my mother and to countless detectives, constantly playing these words out loud and in my head, and watching my mom grieve her baby girl was one of the most gut-wrenching things I've ever had to experience. I was always focused on the possibility of a next phone call or where my sister was so much that I couldn't even focus on school. I was 15 years old.
Then, when it came time for Rex Heuermann to have the opportunity to speak, he stood up at the judge's direct order. He said, stand up. And he said, something like, and this isn't a direct quote, but he said something like, well, my words really wouldn't have any meaning. And then he sat down. The judge was infuriated. And he said to him, are you even sorry that you strangled these young women? He was furious. And he's like, kind of like, well, yeah, it was really difficult to hear him. He said, kind of like, well, yeah, I'm sorry.
Is there anything you wish to say before I pronounce sentence?
Yes.
Stand up.
There are no words I can say. I'm responsible for what was said in this room today. The words I would say have no meaning. And I'm going to leave it there at this time.
Speak up.
Mr. Heuermann, as Mr. Tierney said, I know that you're sorry that you got caught. I assume that you're sorry for what you've done to your wife and children. Are you a little bit sorry for what you did to these poor innocent women? 8 women that you strangled to death, at least 8 that we know of. Are you at least a little bit sorry for that? Yes?
Yes, I am.
You know what? You've been described as a very big man. But you're a disgusting and despicable small man, if you're a man at all. And you're a coward. As a result of your plea of guilty to murder in the first degree under count 1 of indictment 73544 of 2024, it's essentially correct that you serve the rest of your life without the possibility of parole. With respect to count 2, murder in the first degree, it's essentially correct that you serve the rest of your life without the possibility of parole. With respect to count 3, plead guilty to murder in the first degree. It's a sentence of the court that you serve the rest of your life without the possibility of parole. Those three sentences to run consecutive with each other. With respect to count 7, murder in the second degree, it's a sentence of the court that you serve an indeterminate term of imprisonment with a minimum of 25 years and a maximum of your life. With respect to count 8, murder in the second degree, it's a sentence of the court that you serve an indeterminate term of imprisonment with a minimum of 25 years and a maximum of your life. With respect to count 9, murder in the second degree, it's a sentence of the court that you serve an indeterminate term of imprisonment with a minimum of 25 years and a maximum of your life. And finally, with respect to count 10, murder in the second degree, it's the sentence of the court that you serve an indeterminate term of imprisonment with a minimum of 25 years and a maximum of your life. All of those sentences to run consecutive with each other. Mr. Tierney, with respect to counts 4, 5, and 6,
Move to dismiss, Your Honor, in satisfaction of that sentence.
that application is granted. Other agencies to collect. Anything else, gentlemen?
Nothing from the people.
Mr. Brown?
Nothing further.
All right, get him out of here.
Stay seated.
Serving on defense, order directing the surrender of firearms, rifles, and shotguns. That order will go back with you at the jail.
They rape you in the ass and kill you. You already know what the case is. At least we know where you are.